Hi everybody. So today I decided to do a beautiful and very simple design that ended up looking a lot like a tempest or a cyclone. It's basically just a straight pour, and the colors, I couldn't even tell you what they all were because I used some of the leftover colors from my peacock pour, and then I added a few colors to bulk up the paint. And so the one thing I will say though is I splurged and used Golden's Gold Deep Iridescent for this one. And that Golden's Gold makes some beautiful cells. The other thing I wanted to say is the turquoise that you see around the white area right there, that is actually Extreme Sheen blue. There's a metallic blue that Extreme Sheen makes, and it makes beautiful cells. And that's another thing. You know, people often say you have to use silicone to get cells, and I very rarely use silicone. I'm not a big silicone person, so I don't use silicone, but very rarely. And this is just the case in point. You do not need silicone to make cells. You need to know the qualities of the paint that you use, and each paint has a certain quality, and they all have their own properties that lend to certain effects. So you can see I added a second pour around the outside just because this is a 18 by 24 canvas and I didn't quite have enough paint on there. Part of my goal today was not to necessarily put so much paint that I had to tilt a lot off. So I was trying to go very light on the paint. I added, this is like a hunter's green, and I thought, you know, a lot of times you'll see me add things around the corner. I don't know if I'm going to do any balloon rolls on this one at this point, but if I did, that beautiful green color popping through would be pretty. The other thing is sometimes it causes the colors that you put around the edge of your canvas to pop through the cells, and those are the naturally occurring cells that I'm talking about by using the properties of your paint. There's the Golden Gold Deep that I was talking about, and you know, the 24 karat gold by DecoArt is awesome, and it does work really well. The Extreme Sheen by DecoArt. But I will say that Golden's Gold gives amazing effects when you use it in your cup, and it causes a lot of pretty cells. And see the difference in the gold? So the outside is the 24 karat gold by DecoArt, and the inside gold layer is the Golden's Gold. You can see how the Golden Gold is more gold, looking like actual real gold, and the DecoArt is more of a yellow, you know, an artificial looking gold. So that is one of the differences between the two, and they're both great for different uses. And obviously if you're doing a lot of big canvases, the Golden's is really expensive, so it's not necessarily worth it. You can see I'm gonna go ahead and help that paint towards the edge a little bit there. I don't want to totally destroy the pattern that I've created, so I am going towards the edge, but not necessarily planning on going over all of the edges, you can see, because I'm trying to maintain that beautiful watery sort of cyclone hurricane looking effect that I've created with that white center and kind of that cloudy look. I've had a lot of questions lately about opacity and translucency and how they affect the paints. I definitely want to talk about this more because it is important. When I'm using, well, let me put it this way. One of the best ways for you to see how that opacity and translucency comes into play is to use like really cheap craft paints. Most craft paints are not translucent at all because they don't rely on pigments, a lot of heavy pigments. They actually rely on a binder, and on usually that binder is some sort of a white base. So you'll notice craft paints a lot of times, they almost have like a pastel look to them or an opaqueness. And so that's when your paintings get very dull looking. It could be because you're using craft paints that don't have any translucent qualities. I try to intermix translucent paints with opaque paints. And that's one of the reasons why I use metallics. I try to also intermix heavier paints like metallics that have a heavier base to them with lighter paints that would be light, translucent paints like a fluid acrylic or something. And that's where you get a lot of the beautiful effects and the depth in your painting. This painting is a good example of one that has a lot of depth to it. Now, I know it seems counterproductive that I put that green on there, but you know, we're allowed to change our minds. We're artists. And so in the middle of the painting, I decided, you know what? I really just love the simplicity of the center of that painting, and I just want to keep it there. So I decided to let go of the idea of the green underneath of it, and the white just helped me bring my design closer to the edge and really get the composition that I'm looking for without destroying that beautiful lower left-hand corner that I love. This painting really is very watery, very oceanic to me, very calming. I really loved working with blues for a while, and it was a great foray back into painting after my little creative break. Although I have to say, unfortunately, I did order more Floetrol and it was watery again. So I'm not sure about what's going on with the Floetrol. I ordered 2 gallons and it was perfect and thick. And that was after ordering like 7 or 9 gallons of ruined Floetrol. So I was pretty excited when I got the thick ones, and then I started painting again. So I ordered from the same distributor on Amazon, and when I got it in, it's watery again. So I'm almost out of Floetrol again, you guys. Not sure quite what to do about it. I did buy a few heavy body paints, so I guess that's what I'll do, is just start using some heavy body paints with the thinner Floetrol that I have. And you know, sometimes these things happen, so our work will change and shift and grow, and we need to grow beyond our comfort zone. So I guess that's what's happening, y'all. I broke out my airbrush here on this one, and just that little rim of gold is gonna come out over the white right there, along with pulling some of the other colors from the pour. I just wanted to give it like a little ruffled sort of wave, oceanic, watery effect. Here's a close-up of the other side that I did. And that gold is so pretty when you blow it out over the white like that. It just really gives an incredible shimmery quality. Now I just used, this airbrush is a very cheap airbrush. I just bought it off of like OfferUp or something, if you've ever heard of that. It's like a, well, it's what Craigslist used to be, I guess, but I'm not using a ton of pressure, which is why it looks like my paints are really thick. They're actually not very thick, but I'm holding down the airbrush very gently. And look at those pretty lines that I got there. I just love that. And so some of the cells over there on the left-hand side are have formed around turquoise, and some of the green that I did put through on the very bottom is actually coming through the cells. I'll show you a close-up later of those cells and you can really see what I'm talking about. But I love this part. I love the airbrush. And that is the final piece. Isn't it pretty? You guys, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it. One thing I do know is that I notice a lot of the people watching are not subscribers. And if you would love to subscribe, you need to hit the notification bell and select all, because YouTube has changed the format. So if you don't select all, you're not going to get my updates. So it's important that you do that. Also, please support my channel. That is paramount to me keep making these art videos just for you. And so in my PayPal link is in my description box if you want to hit that, and every little bit helps. If you are interested in buying a painting, please go to my website or contact me directly, and I would love to make something just for you if you would like a commissioned piece. Look at that. Now look at the cells. That's what I'm talking about. See the green? It did kind of pop through on the bottom, that turquoise layer over there. And this one dried. Look how pretty it dried. Very oceanic, very dynamic, lots of dynamic movement. I love that section right there. It's so interesting. It kind of reminds me of like a coral reef underneath the waves. Those are those pretty cells I'm talking about. I love that part. It's very interesting. Even dried, there's a lot of depth to it. And you know, wait till that gets varnished with that high gloss varnish that I use. It'll be absolutely lovely and fantastic. This piece would be great under resin too, with some resin pigments. And if I worked more with resin, I would promise myself to do it, but I'm not really working a ton with resin right now. But as always, thanks you guys for watching, and I appreciate each and every one of you, and I just cannot wait to make more art videos just for you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so I can make more art videos for you.